Greetings, comrades and friends. This is Don151 and Mekkah,
Hi.
and we are presenting Chapter 9, my Fire Emblem 6 Hard Mode 0% Gross Playthrough. So, as you may have discerned from a brief glimpse of the map preview, this map is covered in a white mist, and that white mist is this chapter's manifestation of the game's Fog of War mechanic. Fog of War is a mechanic that's pervasive throughout a lot of strategy RPGs, and in this game, like in those other strategy RPGs, the purpose of Fog of War is to obscure enemy units. And so obviously we can't see where they are, and that means that if an enemy is obscured by the Fog of War, we're not able to target him and attack him unless he's revealed previously. Now, soldiers use an item called the Torch Staff. There's another item called the Torch that can be used by anyone, even if they can't use staves. These two items, the purpose that they serve is they increase a unit's Fog of War vision range by 4 tiles, and that vision range decreases by 1 tile each turn. So every map in this game has a predetermined base vision range that units can see. And so, for example, in this map I believe it's 5 tiles. Other maps it can go down to as little as 3. Thieves in this game have a bonus Fog of War vision range of 4 tiles, so a unit like Astore can see a total of 9 tiles in this map instead of 5.
Here we see something that's probably one of my favorite rescue drops in the whole playthrough. Deke just picked up Rutger and then Shanna dropped him across the river so that Deke, basically Rutger was just saved from basically 2 years of walking all the way south and then all the way north again, which is a substantial amount really, because it lets him get to that choke point much earlier.
Right, you may have also guessed from this general map layout that one of the gimmicks of this chapter is there are a lot of 1-tile wide bridges that serve as inconvenient choke points. And for the player who has to progress through the map, of course, these are it's more than just a minor nuisance, because the problem with choke points is that since they're 1 tile wide, it's hard for us to break through them because only one unit basically can be attacking an enemy at a time. I mean, you can have a unit up at 1 range and then another unit up at 2 range, but because we don't have very many good 2-range units, since we'd have to rely on the very inaccurate hand axes, or even worse, javelins in this case, then we pretty much want our best offensive unit in front, and that best offensive unit is Rutger. So that little rescue drop really helped us, especially with this little choke point here, because he can 1-round KO this fighter, and he also weakened that archer previously, so that the archer can suicide on this enemy phase no matter who he attacks.
Shanna is also kind of helped by this chapter's gimmick because she can freely fly around all the water and everything. But the problem with Shanna is that she's not very durable and she's weak to arrows as well. So pretty much any archer will one-hit KO her, and almost all of the axe users will one-hit KO her. So we still have to be very careful. But thankfully, even though we cannot see the map on this playthrough, Don knows exactly where the enemies are because he's used certain tools to know beforehand when he was planning the playthrough. And generally, you will be able to reproduce those results when you actually do play with Fog of War.
Right, so some of you may think this is cheating, but in my defense, there are 2 ways that I could go about doing this. I could just trial and error my way several hundreds of times maybe, or I can just use a Nightmare module. It's basically kind of like a ROM hacking tool to create a version of the game where the Fog of War is hacked out of chapters that do have Fog of War. So like this chapter, you can imagine there's going to be no fog, and I can see where every enemy is and how they move. And that just ends up saving me time, because eventually I'm going to arrive at the same result no matter what I do. And I would rather arrive at that result quicker because I am a human and I have limited amounts of time.
Yeah, I mean, if you can finish the playthrough quicker by using certain tools to see things rather than actually change things that matter, then yeah, you might as well do that. That way you can do more chapters in a quicker amount of time, or a less amount of time.
So you might be wondering why I haven't just used Shanna to drop Rutger near the gate and then somehow get Roy to be flown near the gate as well. The reason for that is because there are a couple of recruitable units in this chapter that start out as enemies. One of them is named Fur. She is a female Myrmidon, and you might have gotten a brief glimpse of her after a paladin revealed her through the fog. She's basically a worse version of Rutger. She starts at level 1, and even though she has pretty decent Harmon bonuses, which means that her base stats are very good for a level 1 unit, she's entirely redundant with Rutger, so there's really no point in using her in the long term, She does come with a pretty good weapon though that only Myrmidons and Sword Masters can use. So we're going to point that out in the next chapter because that's when Rutger starts using it. The other enemy recruitable in this map, his name is Shin. He's a nomad, much like Sue, and of course Sue needs to talk to him in order to recruit him. Shin is a unit that we need to watch out for because he's going to be deployed in pretty much every remaining map in this game, and he's going to be one of our long-term units. So I think he's actually one of like the earliest long-term units that we get, and it's because he has decent base stats. I mean, again, in part due to hard mode bonuses, but also he's one of two mounted bow-using units in this game, and so that's a very good niche to have, just because later in the game we want someone who's on a horse who can use bows at a very high weapon rank.
Yeah, bow users are kind of controversial in the Fire Emblem community, but Shin having bows is really a good thing because it lets him use stronger bows without getting countered. And that's a big thing in this game because the enemies are so strong that avoiding counters is a big deal. We should also probably talk about Shanna and her getting poisoned. If you get poisoned, you lose a random amount of HP, a very small amount every turn, but Shanna's at such low HP that she might actually be in danger. But thankfully, she does end up surviving. Spoilers.
I think in all the Fire Emblem games, poison damage amounts to 1 to 3 HP damage per turn, which, if you have even like a decent amount of HP, it's entirely inconsequential. I mean, there are like items to cure poison, like an annotoxin, but there's almost no point in using them because the minor damage incurred by the poison is just negligible. Like, Shanna's at 2 HP, and so there's still like a 1 in 3 chance that she can survive 1 turn of poison damage. But because we parked her on the fort healing takes place before poison damage, so she's going to get healed some amount of HP, which is greater than the amount of poison HP damage that she could take.
We should probably also talk about the side objectives in this chapter, most importantly the villages. There is a silver sword in the corner where Shanna and Astore are holding up, which is not going to be too relevant, but I guess it's going to be used like once or twice. And then there's 2 very interesting villages at the top right.
Right, we have a route split coming up. It's a kind of a minor route split. I'm not even sure if it's mentioned in the plot, really, that there's going to be a route split coming up. But the way that this route split works is that of the 2 villages in the top right-hand corner of the map, if you visit one, the other one closes. And so if you visit the one on the left, you go to one route. If you visit the one on the right, you go to a different route. If you visit neither, then you go to the same one that you would go to if you visit the one on the left. And the reason why the route split is important here is because one of the routes is a bit easier to do. It takes fewer turns in general, and it has better recruitable characters. And so that's why I want to go to that route. Now on this final turn here, we've already started taking down the boss, and we've taken them down to 1 HP. The boss is a bit tough defensively, but Rutger doubles, and he has a massive critical rate with the killing edge, and he also has a triangle advantage. So it's not that hard to take down, but we still need chip damage from Zealot's Light Brand, and then finally we're going to actually give this boss kill to Shin to give him an initial bolus of experience, because we want him to get to level 10 as early as possible. And he's going to have to get to level 10 anyway, so even though he's a nomad and he contributes to the experience rank for going Saka instead of Ilia, like it doesn't really matter how quickly he gets to level 10, he's going to get to level 10 anyway. So we might as well give him the boss kill here if we can. And Roy seizes, that's chapter 9 completed in 6 turns. We will see you next time.
Bye.